And I believe we are live. So if you guys want to let me know that you can hear me, that's always a good start. And let me just check my iPad now that we're live. And let me make sure it's, oops. Okay, everyone, can you hear me? That's the first thing I need to know. So I've got Matriarchs Matter on with us tonight, and I've got RS is on, as well as everyone is saying hello from Seattle, but can you guys hear me? I've been having some, oh, okay. They say they can hear me. Good. Then I'll stop asking. I've been having some technical trouble today. I didn't think I was going to be able to come on. I was in here checking out a couple things, getting ready for the show, and my internet was just like gone. I'm like, what? I got a show in like 2 hours. So hubby came up, he got under the desk. I don't know what he did, but he got it sorted out. So we are live. So I'm glad you guys can hear me. Let me go ahead and give the greeting, and then we will go from there. So what is your role as homemaker? How do you explain it? Or do you? On tonight's Traditional Homemaker live Q&A, we're going to dive into the homemaking role and discuss whether or not it's changed over the years. And as always, I'll take some time to answer your questions. By the way, if we're just meeting, I'm Denise Jordan, and I teach traditional homemaking for today's homemaker. So if that sounds like something you want to learn about, then hit that subscribe button and double tap that little bell icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Okay, so we're going to jump into it, and let me share again that tonight we are again co-sponsored by Coldest Water. And Coldest Water has one enemy, and that is hot. And what they want to do is bring to you the best water bottles and gear to help keep your water cold. So you're going to be sure and check them out. So this pretty little water bottle comes in other colors, such as black, red, and white. And I just thought I would share that with you. And then they have a free giveaway every week. So be sure and jump in on the free giveaway. And there was a link to the giveaway in the description box. And they were kind enough to give us a discount, 10% off, should you choose to shop and buy anything. So wanted to let you know about that co-sponsor. And then, of course, Apron Diva is the other co-sponsor. And as you guys know, on Sunday, April 11th, Apron Diva is launching. So be sure and click on the link in the description box so that you can get signed up for that. So now let me take a minute to greet everyone. And there are quite a few people on. So there is Matriarchs Matter, who is Nefertari. And hello, Nefertari. It is good to see you. And Rachel Knight. Hello, hello, hello. And I want to thank you so much for that beautiful little card. I stopped by the post office box yesterday with Mickey Blue Skies, and I was so surprised to find the sweetest, most adorable little card in there from you. And it was so cute. And she was just thanking me for the information that I share here on the traditional live shows. And I really appreciated that. I really did. So thank you so much for that friend mail. I just loved it. So that was so sweet. And then we've got RS is here. And look at that little baby doll on her lap. Oh, that's cute. Just cute as a button. And then Flora Swinney is back. Hey, Flora. And then let's see, Beth is with us as well. And Magenta is on from Seattle. So hey, Magenta, good to have you with us. And Fancy Schmancy. I just love that name, Fancy Schmancy. So hey, Fancy, good to have you with us as well. And Anna Borka, good to have you. Anna Boca, good to have you with us. And Jenny Smith. And then Joanne is saying good evening. And Left And 210 is back with us as well. Patricia is back from Washington, D.C. And, Lenny says that she can use all the help she can get. She's far from perfect. Lenny, who is perfect? None of us. Trust me, I've been at this more than 45 years. I tell you how long I've been at it. My oldest children will be having their 48th, their 49th birthday this year. That just lets you know how long I've been at it. And it is still not perfect. Perfection is something you see in a picture on a Pinterest board. Life is not Pinterest. So, honey, there is no perfection. All we do is continue to make progress. So, rip that S off your chest. There are no superwomen here. There's no perfection. So, yes, Rachel, I got it. It was just adorable. Did you guys see hubby going by with that basket of laundry? He's helping me out today by putting away his own laundry. I'm so excited. And then I've got Around the House with Cheryl. Hey, Cheryl, good to see you. Cheryl is my gardening sister. We met on YouTube through our gardens. And so, Cheryl, it's time to get that going again. I'm about ready to get started. It's starting to warm up a little bit. And then Tammy Thompson is here as well. So, okay. So, hello, ladies. I am so glad that you joined us. Oh, and then there's Melissa from Buckeye Wreath, Girl Wreath Some Things. So, it's good to have you with us as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and jump into it then and just ask you guys, what do you see as the role of the homemaker? What is the role of the homemaker? And let's have I want to have some good discussion about this. I want to get your thoughts on what the role of the homemaker is. And I want to be sure and highlight Rachel's comment. She said, perfection is the enemy. Just do your best. And I have to tell you, Jennifer Scott at the Daily Connoisseur did a series on what she saw as what was the enemy to the homemakers and other things like that. I'll try to remember to link her in the description box so that you can check her out, because she has some really very interesting thoughts about homemaking. I really like her approach, so be sure and check it out. But one of the things, though, that she does talk about is perfection is the enemy, because sometimes if you want things to be perfect, you get paralyzed and you don't get anything done. So there's that. So yeah, we're not going to be talking about being perfect. And then we've got Rhonda from Midland, Texas, who was there as well. And then we've got Alexandra, who is going to tell us what homemaking is. So for her, homemaking is more than cleaning and keeping tidy. It's creating a loving and nurturing environment for herself and family. So that's what Alexandria says. So does anyone else have anything different? When I ask you, what is the role of the homemaker? So Alexandria says it's more than cleaning, which I have to agree with, and it's more than keeping things tidy, but it's, as I say, from my perspective, homemaking is an art and a science, and the art part is how you use yourself, the therapeutic use of self, to create that loving and nurturing environment. So yes, I have to agree with you there. So amen says to keep the home feeling loving, welcoming, and accommodating to guests as much as possible. Okay, and I can see that this person has some thoughts on homemaking, because over here she's got in her avatar, you can see she's got several umbrellas with at the top she's got Christ, and then she's got husband who's leading the family, and then she's got wife and who's teaching and doing some other things. Okay, so there's Amen's perspective. Beth is in agreement. Alexandra, creating a safe place and a haven. So far, everybody's in agreement on that. Ha ha! Jessica Maldonado says the house manager. Okay, let's talk about that. House manager. I'm going to write that down, though, because I want us to come back to that. I've got a particular reason for thinking about that. And then Nefertari says, as homemaker, she believes it's nurturing the family, setting the tones, the values and the morals. I have to say, I like that too, Nefertari. I like that too. And then Rachel says her husband gave her a house, but it's she who makes the house a home because she fills it with love and comfort and decorates it with memories. Rachel, I love that. And it sounds like we are all on the same page, that it is that use of self, that therapeutic use of self that you bring to the house, to the building, that you fill with love and comfort, and then you also fill it with memories. So I like that. So Fancy says that she sees that the homemaker is the glue of the home, the CFO, or the Chief Functioning Officer of the home. I'm going to write that down too, CFO, Chief Functioning Officer, because I saw something that kind of spoke to that just a little bit. And then Nefertari is agreeing with Jessica. And see, Jessica had said, mentioned house manager. And then we had a man talking about, it's important for the woman to be happy too, because her happiness sets the tone for the rest of the house. Boom! As they say, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy. And that's probably true. So, okay, we got that. And then Beth said, is agreeing with Alexander regarding creating a safe place and a haven, and loving, welcoming, accommodating guests, and creating a nurturing and environment for self and family. So, okay, I like those. And Melissa says, making a place that her truckers can't wait to come back to. So again, home is where you can feel safe, you can feel comfortable, you can feel cozy, you can just kind of relax. You don't have to have your face on and have your hair all fancy. You can just be comfortable and be accepted as you are. So yes. So Rhonda says, as homemaker, she is the CEO. So I'm going to write that one down. We've got CFO, Chief Functioning Officer. Now we have the CEO, the Chief Executive Officer. And she says she tries to be a Titus 2 woman. She makes her house a home. And as Rachel pointed out earlier, her husband gave her a house, but it's she who creates the home. And I have to agree with that too. And hey, Miss Congeniality, I'm always glad to see you. I always call her one of my number one fans because whenever I'm on live, she usually jumps on. It's like I look for her to be there. So thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm already dry tonight. And I'm just getting started. Okay, let's see what else we got up here. All right. So now Anna says, on a pragmatic level, a homemaker has to know everything about the house and how the people's lives flow through it. She said she knows where everything is in her house. Well, I can't say that I know where everything is in my house, but I feel like I do know about the lives of the people who live here. And right now it's just the two of us, just me and the hubby. But I know what's going on with him for the most part. He knows what's going on with me. We kind of communicate regarding appointments and, how we're feeling and just kind of different things like that. But yeah, I get it. And then Christine Disney Queen is with us as well. Oh, is this the second time you've caught us live? Amen. Tell us, what is your name? We tend to call each other by our names here. So let me know what your name is so that we can greet you properly. Okay, and so Nefertari says that Rachel's comment about the hubby buying the house, but she makes it the home is perfection. I agree there. And then C Love to 2332. Hello. She's thanking me for the great tips and really beginning to embrace homemaking. I am so glad you're really beginning to embrace homemaking because it is such an important role. Okay, so let's see. And then beautiful T Rachel is with us again tonight too. So both of our Rachels are on with us tonight. And let's see. So amen. You need to tell us what your name is so that we can greet you by that. Sandra Tagaban is here, and then Darcy is here, or rather Ordine is here. So hey, Ordine, good to have you with us as well. All right. So one of the things that I wanted us to think about as we've talked about the role of the homemaker, let me ask. So we've had several people say it has to do with being nurturing. It has to do with creating a warm and welcoming environment for family, for guests, a place that your family members want to come home to so they can relax and feel safe from the world. So now let me ask you this question. Um, has the homemaking role changed over the years? Has the homemaking role changed over the years? Answer me that. Oh, amen is Krish. Let me write that down. Amen. And it may take me a couple of weeks before I remember it, but I'll try. So now Christine Disney Queen said that she never considered herself a homemaker because she lives alone. But now she knows that she is. Whether you're creating a house, whether you're creating a home for you and your boo, or for you and the family, you are a homemaker because, like I said, it's the use of yourself, the things that you do that you bring into the home environment that you bring into the house that creates the home. So I'm glad you consider yourself a homemaker now. So the question is, has the role of homemaker changed over the years? Oh, I've got a couple words in there that shouldn't be. Well, has the role of homemaker changed over the years? And so Fancy says she doesn't think the actual role has changed, but maybe the perception of it may have changed. Okay, I get that. So Danny Bay, her mom Rutha, loves my videos and has organized both her freezers following my video. Well, thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. Um, so Say Love says yes and no. She says she doesn't think a lot of women view themselves as homemaker. And Say Love, I have to agree with you because as we saw earlier, Fancy didn't think she was a homemaker because she lived by herself. But if you're creating a home, you are a homemaker. Now, whether or not you're a good homemaker or whether or not you're doing a poor job of it, that remains to be seen. But we are all making a home one way or the other. We're making that home. And most of us do a pretty good job. And when I say a pretty good job, I'm not saying everything is beautiful and perfect and Pinterest worthy because it is not, but it works for you and your family. So, yes. So, she says she doesn't think many women view themselves. Ordine says it has changed for me. She still works, so her son helps her out tremendously by doing laundry, dishes, and vacuuming. So, see, Ordine, you're looking at tasks, you're looking at things, you're looking at those tasks that make up part of the role of homemaking. And Alexandria says with the advancements in technology, it's been a lot easier. She does so much with her phone, which is a big help. And she thinks family values have been different too. So I definitely have to agree with you that life has changed. And because of technology, some things are a lot easier. We got these cute, fancy little washers and dryers in our own homes. So for the most part, we don't have to use a wringer washer and feed it through that little wringer thing. We don't have to use a scrub board. All that's easier. But in that aspect, though, we do laundry more often. We can order groceries by phone and then put them up in the refrigerator. We don't have to grow everything that we eat. So a lot of that has changed as well. So in many ways, it's been a lot easier. But now this thing about family values, I think that's something that's worth addressing. So let me write that down as well. Family values. Okay, so now let's see what else we got over here. So Frankie said it's changed, and at times she's not comfortable to tell people that she's a full-time homemaker. Now, see, Frankie, that was one of the things, one of the questions that I had here on my sheet, which was, how do you define the role of homemaker or do you? And then how do you feel when you have to describe what it is that you do? And I'll tell you what made me think about this in this particular topic. So we talked about 3 articles on homemaking a few weeks ago. And one of the ladies that responded said that she had gone somewhere with her husband, and she had mentioned people were standing up talking about what they did. And when she stood up and said she was a homemaker or home manager or something like that, that no one gave her applause like they applauded for everyone else, and that she felt somewhat devalued. And so I wanted us to address that tonight. So I'm glad that you brought up that sometimes you're not comfortable telling people that you're a full-time homemaker. Can you share with us, are you willing to share with us why you have that feeling? And I do know that there have been people who have said previously that they have felt devalued or undervalued as a homemaker because they didn't feel that their role and the things that they did were appreciated in that space. So there's that. Beautiful T. Rachel says it's changed for her because now she's teaching her kids to help a lot more. And now that she's not caring for her husband as much, homemaking is a little bit easier for her. She said he still comes every day after work while they're working through their separation, but things are being able to sort out just a little bit. But keeping in mind, though, that whether you've got a hubby there or not, to help fill the spaces in that home, you're still creating the home for you and the people that live in it with you. And then if you had, let's say, a partner that was helping you with certain things, and now that partner is going to be exiting your life and exiting the home, then they're certainly going to have to take on some new responsibilities for you and the people that are living there. So I understand that as well. So Say Love, and Say Love, tell us what your name is as well. But Say Love says that she's been homemaking for 20 years, but only just started viewing herself as a homemaker, and it makes her function differently. Tell us about that. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You've been homemaking for 20 years, but only just started viewing yourself as a homemaker. So now you function differently. Tell us a little bit more about that. So Anna says she agrees with Alexandra that certain technologies have eased up some of the tasks. So keep remembering, we're looking at the tasks that are associated with homemaking. And then pay for the task. I'm writing myself a note. Okay, so RS says for her, yes, it has changed. Her kids are 3 and 13. So the addition of the little one and a teenager changed her role, and that COVID has also changed it quite a bit as well. Absolutely. I was wondering if someone was going to bring up the topic of COVID because it has certainly affected how we all live our lives today. So Rachel said routine has a lot to do with it, making the effort as a homemaker. So routines for her has certainly helped her to become, well, in her role as homemaker, because as she focuses on different routines, then she can maybe take care of the tasks, the things that we need to do as homemakers. So Krish, amen. Her name is Krish. Krish says it's changed because she was taught to try to cook and clean in case she had a family in the future. Then she got stuck in work life, and now she's trying to gain back some homemaking skills. Okay. So for her, homemaking has changed because she was in the work life, and now she's trying to regain some of the skill set that she had learned at one time. So Nefertiri says when people ask her, what do you do? She tells them, I'm a social worker by degree, but a homemaker by choice. Okay, I like that. I like that. So I'm a social worker by degree, but a homemaker by choice. Now, my question for you is what makes you not just say, I'm a homemaker? like, I guess I'm curious as to why you feel like you need to qualify that with a social worker. Do you feel like you have to have that validation that yes, I've received an education, a secondary education, but because I chose to do something else, I decided to become a homemaker. Tell me about that. Okay, so now Krish says that she got stuck in work life for decades and lost her touch of being a homemaker, and now she wants to be in a traditional marriage one day, which is tough to find in this generation. Well, Krish, interesting that you say that. If you just kind of look around YouTube, I'm beginning to see where um, there's beginning to be a little bit of a shift where I'm beginning to see housewives who are home and they don't have any children yet, but they're home to take care of their home and their husbands. And this was a choice that they made with their husband when they entered the marriage. So there's no children in the home, but just the hubby and the wife, and they've made the decision to live that way. So Sayla says she's always taking care of the house and meals with her husband, but then when she had their son and decided to stay home, she started looking at what it really means to be a homemaker and doesn't resent the task. Okay, okay. Say loves working at cooking and cleaning. So Chris wants to know, do homemaking wives, do you dedicate a day or so to yourself or you just relax, and how do you balance it at all? Well, I use the Fly Lady cleaning system, and on the Fly Lady cleaning system for the at home fly babies, or the at home homemakers, I should say, you have a series of routines that you complete every day, Monday through Friday. And then the payroll fly homemakers, which are the ones that work outside the home, has to do some things during the weekend on the weekend. So the payroll homemakers don't really get a day to dedicate to themselves, but the ones that stay at home, like for example, for me on Tuesday is my free day. Well, what does that mean? That just means I don't have to do any zone work and I don't have to do anything extra. But I still have to do the daily swish and swipe. I still have to make the bed. I still need to start a load of laundry. So I might do less on the day that's my free day, but there's still things in my home that I'm doing every day. I just do fewer of them. So now, should you have some time where you set aside some time for yourself to relax? Well, yes, because on that free day, that's a good time to get your nails done, to get your hair done, maybe just to do a spa day for yourself in the house, that kind of thing. Because you do need to balance it so that you are able to give to the family. Because if you drain yourself, then you have nothing left to give. So Nefertari says, homemaking hasn't changed for her. She still carries the children, birth the children, nurse the children, guide the children, morally, mentally, emotionally support her husband. So she still nurtures her family. So she's still doing all of the things, which includes the task as well as those aesthetics, such as nurturing and supporting and that kind of thing. So Rachel says that she was a CNA and a medical assistant, and people judge so much when you decide to stay home. Well, you know what, though? I think you have to ignore those people that are judgmental about the choices you make for you and your family. If the decision that you make is for you to be at home with your family and it's good with you and your husband and it works for your family, then they don't really have anything else to say about it because they're not paying your bills. They're not putting any food on your table or any clothing on your backs or on your children's backs. So just ignore that. And I got a point I'm going to come to in just a minute, but let me just see something else. Alexandra says she lives in an area that is more traditional. So being a stay-at-home mom and homemaker isn't seen negatively, which is good. Alexandra says that her day off is Sunday. So she goes to church and then just do daily things like take care of the litter box and then pick up after meals. So yes. Well, Fly Lady system is the same way too for that. So on Sunday is the Renew Your Spirit Day. So whereas you would still do your daily swish and swipe, you don't do any laundry or anything like that. You cook your meals, your daily swish and swipe, and then just kind of do whatever you do for church or to renew your spirit, but just kind of relax and, just kind of refill the cup. Hi, Leni. It's good to have you with us today. Ha! Rachel says her 9-year-old son says hi to everyone. Okay, well, let me just share with you. Did I have another question? Well, let me ask you guys one more thing before I start talking about this book that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. What influenced your perspective of the role of homemaker? I always spell wrong when I'm trying to put this in here. So what influenced your perspective of the role of homemaker? Yeah, so hi to Rachel's son. Yes, like hi there, honey bun. So what influenced your role of what a homemaker is? Was there anything that you saw, that you heard, that you learned that influenced your role of homemaking? Let's talk about that. And when we look at today's some of the issues associated with today, if you look back in the 1940s and 1950s, depending upon your economic status, because me and my husband were having this very discussion at dinner time. So back in the 1940s and the 1950s, stay-at-home moms, homemakers was much more common, dependent upon your economic status. Now, again, they might have been homemakers, but they may not have been able to stay at home. They might have had to go out, work, and then come home and continue to do whatever it is that they would normally do during the day, later in the evening. So, what influenced your perspective of the role? So, oh, wait a minute. I got the wrong one. So Alexandria says old TV shows. She said they didn't have cable, just antenna, which is what everybody had in the beginning. You just had antenna TV. And so she got a lot of family value ideas from that. I mean, for those that are closer to my generation, to my age, that what we saw on TV, the 1950s housewife, Leave It to Beaver and Donna Reed and all that kind of thing, those were women who were stay-at-home homemakers. So they raised their children, they stayed at home, and the husband went out to work and, brought the money in, that kind of thing. And so those are the images that I saw on television. However, that is not necessarily the reality that everyone experienced. So Frankie says her grandmother influenced her perspective of homemaking. She did everything with love and was a great homemaker and was always there for her family. So grandmothers, and I remember my grandmother was both my grandmothers, but particularly my one on my mom's side, was the best homemaker. I just thought she was a quintessential grandmother. If you looked up grandma in the dictionary, you would find my grandmother in there. All the things that she does, you would find it in there. So Anna says her husband is Russian and a lot of her friends are Russian speaking. So she's been influenced by how Russian culture does things. So Anna, let me ask you, does the Russian culture do things much differently from how we as women do homemaking here in this culture? I'm just asking, I'm curious. So Lori says she struggles letting people know she's only a homemaker, especially those in her family who prioritize education over practicing strong family values. Well, okay, and I hear what you're saying. And I think what I would encourage you to do is take the word only out of there. You don't need to put quotes around it. I'm a homemaker, and be proud of that and say, I'm a homemaker, and I manage my home. Okay. So Alexandra says she's only 20, But so she grew up in a different time with different values. So Alexandria, if you're only 20 years old, that means you're looking at life the way things are right now. And yes, it is very different, but there's a slow shift that I'm beginning to see happening. So RS said having a child made her change her perspective. She was so exhausted trying to work and raise her child. Childcare was good, but she wanted to do it herself. I get that too. And then Christine says her Italian mother is an inspiration for her. Well, let me share with you guys something that I found. Okay, so now wait a minute. I missed something. Anna says there's more uniform standards, like almost all Russian households make you take off your shoes, and almost all Russian parents will pay for their children's colleges, just a given. Okay, we don't always have that take your shoes off thing in this culture, in this country, but I've met people who do that in their homes. And then Say Love says she does begin to see a shift. And then Danny says her cousin was a homemaker where she worked maybe 2 days a week in the 80s. And she remembers how she handled her house, husband, and kids. It looked effortless. Yeah, I worked part time at one point, and I remember working part time really was the best of both worlds because I could get out of the house, make a little extra money, talk to some adults, and have some adult conversation, and still have the time to get the things done that I needed to get done at home. So, yeah, I felt that working part time was best. And then Nefertari says she was a born homemaker, started babysitting at 8, played with doll babies until she was a teenager, and wanted to be a wife and mother all her life. Loved to create ambiance. So, okay, I get it. And some people are just born that way, just want to be homemakers. Let's see. Rachel says her household she grew up in an unstable household, was in and out of foster care. So those things are also going to have a bearing on your perspective of homemaking. So that when you were on your own, you wanted to have things stable, clean, and neat. So you had a foster mom who was very 1950s and was an inspiration. Okay, so you certainly had a major impact, a major influence on your thoughts of homemaking as well. And then we have Khadija. I was wondering if you were going to jump on with us tonight. So Khadija says the Bible has shaped her values and influenced her. And she is the first in her family for a lot of things. And staying home with the children is one of them. And you are right, Khadija. Someone earlier mentioned that. I don't remember who it was, being a Titus 2 woman. I thought it was Titus 2 woman, but has alluded to some of the things, the biblical components associated with homemaking. So there's that. So, okay. So let me share with you guys something that I found, and I ordered it in. It's called The Family Manager Takes Charge. And I think one of you guys mentioned something about being a family manager in one of your comments last week or the week before. And I didn't think that the family manager was a thing, but for some reason I Googled it or whatever and found out that there was this book called The Family Manager Takes Charge by Kathy Peel. And Kathy Peel has written other books, but her first one was called The Family Manager. So how many of you have heard about that? Let's see. So we'll back up for a second. So Khadijah's talking about how the Bible shaped her values and influenced her. And then Krish is saying that she agrees with that and that this is what helps her to keep focused on praying for a traditional marriage and learning to be a loving wife and homemaker. So Rachel says she doesn't have a background of a definitive culture. They live on the Eastern Shore, so she's been looking up things in history and such to create something for her kids to carry. And church can mold you a lot. Yes, it can. And then Nefertari says she was a social worker. And so as she worked with child welfare, she has an understanding of all the things that families and that we as a people or a person have to overcome based upon the situations that we were raised in. So there's that. So, all right. So now Khadija says no pun intended. So she's agreeing with that comment. All right. So now let me show you again. So this book, The Family Manager Takes Charge, is getting on the fast track to a happy, organized home. And I got to looking at this, and when I saw it on Amazon, and let me encourage you guys to order this book. It was like really, really inexpensive. This book, you see how thick it is? It was less than $3. The shipping costs more than the book. I think I paid like $7 or $8 altogether for it. But the book itself was less than $3, and the shipping was about $4 or $5. But it's really a pretty good book. And now let me tell you how she phrases it. She says that the homemaker is the family manager. So there was a time when we would call ourselves domestic engineers or domestic goddesses, that kind of thing, when we're talking about being a homemaker. But I really kind of like the way she says family manager. And I think it really struck me when I started looking through the book, because I went to a women's workshop yesterday virtually. It was on Zoom, but it was about women in leadership. And my daughter was was like the keynote speaker. And one of the things that she talked about was bringing some business perspective tools to managing the family. And then this book came in the mail today, and I got to looking at it, and I'm like, that's what she does. So she says taking charge around the house, and she says you're the CEO or the chief executive officer. And she talked about how when she got married, she said her house and her home was a mess because she had no clue how to balance all these different things that she was required to do. She said when she grew up, her mom was a businesswoman, so they had help in the house. They had a cook and they had a housekeeper. So when she went to college, she had never even done any laundry herself. And she said the first time she did laundry, she talked about putting the clothing in the dryer and putting the detergent and all that stuff. She threw all that stuff in the dryer instead of in the washer, and her clothes ended up a mess. And I just thought that was hilarious. But that's how she grew up. And she felt like, okay, something has got to be different. But she said what she did know how to do was run a business. So she thought, well, can I use some of the same tools that I use in running a business to managing a family? And she said she found out that it works. So Laurel says Amazon has it for $19. I got mine on Amazon and it was at $19. I've got a link in the description box that you can click on. It was not $19. It was only like $3, unless the ones are gone. But click on the link I've got in the description box. It was less than $3 for this. And then they had some other ones too, but this particular one was less than $3. But she talks about taking charge around the home and being the CEO or the chief executive officer of the home. And then she breaks it down into different areas. So she talks about being the chief executive officer and then building a team, meaning that you get the family members to assist you where you need their support. There's that. And then the next chapter talks about you're the all-purpose maid. So yeah, that is one of the things that we do. We do all the cleaning. So we're the all-purpose maid in the home. She says you're the home organizer. And then there's a whole chapter on that. And it talks about how to organize and clean and different things like that. And then she says you're the building manager. So think about it. Like, I really like her approach to homemaking. So she says you're the building manager. She talks about home maintenance, basement problems, home building and remodeling, and then combating insects and pests. Don't we worry about ants every spring? So we're worried about pests from that perspective. And then now, typically, if something goes wrong with the roof or something like that, my husband can take care of that. I just let him know. But if you don't have a significant other in the home, you got to manage that piece yourself. And so then she talks about being an interior decorator. That's using yourself to bring that design element to creating that beautiful, nurturing, and environmental home. She talks about being the gardener because, of course, we all have our little herbal gardens or something like that. Well, I shouldn't say we all, many of us do. And I'm going to challenge all of you homemakers out there to plant an herb garden and maybe a couple of flowers, even if it's just in one little container, or you get a couple little herb pots that you set on your patio. I'm going to do a video where I'm going to challenge you to create a little herb garden so that you can have fresh herbs to cook with. And then she talks about you being the safety officer, where you have to cope with disasters. You have to childproof the home. You have to be concerned about child prevention and fire safety and all that. Don't we all have to deal with all those things in our homes? And now you have to be concerned about COVID. You're the chauffeur. And then she talks about all the different things you have to do associated with that. And that's just in the first chapter, or the first part. In part 2, she talks about taking charge of meals and entertaining. And here we are, the chief cook and bottle washer. So birthday parties and holidays and things like that we have to be responsible for. So meal planner, head chef, event planner. So there's all of that. And then she talks about taking charge of the family's money. So again, now you're an accountant, you're the financial planner, you're the real estate agent, and you're the personal shopper. So I just thought it was so interesting the way she broke this book up. Okay, so Chris says it's about $7 on Amazon. She's looking at it now. So did you click on the link that I put in the description box? Because I thought it was cheaper than that. I got this one total for about $8, and that did include shipping, and it's this one. So sometimes things change. I don't know if maybe this particular one got sold out or whatever, but try the link that I put in the description box. Try that one, because that was the cheapest one that I saw. But okay. But what are your thoughts about those different categories of what you do in your homemaking role? Because remember earlier when we talked about what are some of the things that people do, and so many people came up with the tasks that we do, and there's so many tasks that fall into there. So now when you say you're a homemaker, would you feel better saying you were a home manager? Or, I'm a homemaker. I make and create a home. And that includes being a financial manager and a building officer and a financial advisor, and on and on and on. What are your thoughts about all of that? So now let me just check the chat to see what you guys have been saying. So Fancy said she never heard of family manager, but she liked it. I had not either until one of you guys said it in the chat a couple of weeks ago. And I got to looking around and found out that it was an actual thing. And I like that. I like that. And there's this commercial where they show this woman, and I think she's an Asian woman, and it shows her it's one of those financial advisor commercials, and it talks about the different things that she does for her family, and it says you took charge for it, and it shows her in the boardroom at work, and she's leading a discussion or a meeting, and then it shows her at home with her family, and when she comes home, her husband is there with the kids, and they're playing at the table or eating or doing some kind of task, and then she comes in from work to there, and then it shows her going into a bank to discuss with a financial manager. And I like the way they said, and you took charge for it. And they talk about taking charge in all of these different areas related to homemaking. So there's a lot of things that we have to do to manage a home. So, hey, Tammy, good to have you with us. So, again, so if you guys are going to get this book, please click on my link so I can at least get a quarter from that sale if you guys decide that you want to buy one. It's in my Amazon store. Oh, yes. I was going to say, Rachel, check the library because, of course, I should have said that earlier. The library is always the first place you can go. So, like when I was talking about the batch lady last week, I got mine at the library. See, you can see there's the little library numbers on it, that kind of thing. And I got to take it back. I've renewed it like 4 times. I should have just went ahead and bought it, but I forgot when I ordered stuff today. But yeah, it was very inexpensive. And then there's a couple other ones that I found. This one I got at Half Price Books, and it's called the Housewives Handbook, and it talks about how to run the modern house. So, the question is, what's the modern house? How is the modern house different from the house in the 1950s? And this one is called the Housewives Handbook. And when you open it up right here in the introduction, look at what it says a housewife is: a married woman who looks after the house and family and does not have a paid job. Now, this is from Chambers Dictionary in 2003. So, housewife tends to be a woman, but it could be any person who is home full time with the family or without a family, just managing the home. However, being a housewife and being a homemaker can be two different things, because you can be a homemaker and not be a stay-at-home wife or not be one who's in the home full time. So let's just get that out of the way. All right. So Tammy says sometimes it's overwhelming. And yes, it can be overwhelming. But one of the things that I've learned, and I want to encourage you all to consider, is developing a routine to help you manage your home. And it doesn't matter what routine you choose, as long as you choose a routine that helps you get your home in the way that you want. And the Secret Slob did a video the other day for a conference that I guess failed to exist. So she went ahead and released a video on her YouTube channel about why she got started with the Fly Lady system and how it helped her. And it was very interesting because she talked about what a mess she was early on and then how she eventually found something that worked for her. And that's what you have to do, Tammy. You have to figure out what works for you. You have to figure out what works for you and then develop that routine and then just try to follow it, because most routines will work if you follow them, but you've got to follow them. So there's that. Oh, so Laurel says she clicked. Well, it should be this one. Well, okay. I can't go check right now. Yeah, I can't check it right now. But whatever you find, if you get it at the library or wherever, find something that's inexpensive, because you don't want to spend a lot of money on books, even though I do all the time. Anna says she has a hard time because she has some resentment with certain tasks. So what kind of tasks do you feel that are put on you? So I guess maybe I shouldn't ask that. But when we think about the tasks that are associated with homemaking, many of us have similar ones: cooking, cleaning, laundry, and then all of the other various and sundry things that goes along with making a home. And so often it is just one person that is doing most of it. Now tonight, hubby is helping me with the laundry because I just wasn't able to get it all done. I got it washed and dried, but he put it away, which usually I do that too, but he put it away himself tonight, which was very helpful. So Lynn says she has no problem saying I don't work, and they usually don't ask, so she doesn't explain. Okay. So Lynn, you can say I don't work, or you can, but I bet you working pretty doggone hard at home. I will just bet you are. Hey, Michelle at My Everyday Wife Life. Good to have you with us. Okay, so Christine said she found it for $5 with free shipping. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cheap. So Khadija said sometimes she feels resentment too. She tries to change her mindset and try different ways of doing something so that it's less daunting. And there can be some resentment. And I'll tell you guys, I'm having a hot flash, so I don't know why I'm having one tonight. I keep thinking, when is this going to end? Is there a time when I won't have them anymore? Anyway, I remember when I stopped ironing my husband's clothing. And I was working full time. He was working full time. And, the kids were probably about 4 or 5. And I remember I was ironing something and I thought, wait a minute. I'm walking out of this door every day, just like he is. Why am I ironing his clothes? He can iron his own clothes. He ironed them before we got married. So that day I quit ironing his clothing. So I don't iron anymore. If they need to be ironed, he's got to do it. And even now that I'm a full-time housewife, I still don't iron his clothing because he's home all the time now himself. But I will wash them, I'll clean them, I'll get them out of the dryer right away and get them hung up so they don't have to be ironed. But if they're not neat enough or wrinkle-free enough, then he can take care of that himself. And I think I grew up resenting having to iron because when we were little, we had to iron everything. And we had to iron all my dad's clothing and, even his boxer underwear, his t-shirts, we ironed sheets. We had to iron everything. And I was kind of sick of that by the time I grew up and had my own family. So sometimes you can become resentful of some things. But some of the things that I used to resent, I don't anymore because, like you said, Khadija, I've changed my mindset about some of them. And some of the things that I used to fuss about, like when he helps me put away the dishes and he can never seem to remember to put them where they go. I've learned not to complain about that because he's making an effort to put away the dishes. I'm the one that knows where they go because I do it most of the time. But if he puts them up and they're mostly where they go and a couple things are out of place, I've learned, you know what, just let it go. Because I've learned too that if I'm complaining about all these little picky things, then he'll stop doing those kinds of things to help as well. So yeah, I think if you just kind of change your mindset, that can help. And you met Nikki at Inspired by Nikki this week in our collaboration. And she did a video about that a few weeks ago about the mindset and if a thing needs doing, just doing it. Because if we still have to get it done, if we just look at it differently, maybe you could play some good music, put on a book on CD or something like that to kind of engage your mind differently to help you with that so you're not resentful. That might be helpful. Let's see, where is that? I think. But yeah, sometimes you can feel a little resentful, particularly if you feel unappreciated. But if your husband or your partner appreciates what you're doing, then it can be less so. So love said, yes, routines do make a big difference. Yeah, I think you can put the link in the chat. Blue Skies isn't on tonight. She's still not feeling well, so she's not here to drop the link in there for me. You can try and put the link in there and see if they'll let you, but we'll see. So, Nefertiri says Fly Lady is a blessing. She looks through her book at least once a year. Yes, Fly Lady is definitely a blessing because even if you end up tweaking her routines to make them a little bit differently so they work for you, it gives you the skeleton. You're not recreating the whole thing. You might make a few little tweaks here and there, but it helps you to get that done. Oh my goodness. So Hard Hustle Mom, you know what? I've forgotten your name today, hun. But she wants to thank me. She says, introducing me to a routine and the Fly Lady cleaning system. It helped her tremendously. My favorite Fly Lady, I'm going to put her name in here. is a Fly Lady Cat. And that's my favorite one is Fly Lady Cat. I like her best, and she just makes it so simple. And you can just watch the videos and you can really learn a lot from it from that perspective. So you are quite welcome. And tell me your name again. Remind me, I forgot. So Anna says for her it's cooking because she never planned on being a chef or meal prepping, but now it's expected. Yeah, when you're in a family, many times one person is expected to do most of the cooking. And the issue comes in is as to what are the expectations of your partner. If you are married to a partner who expects you to do all the cooking, then yeah, that's where you are. Now, did you have this conversation before you got married so that you can discuss, well, who's going to do the cooking? Who's going to do the cleaning? In my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law, he does all the cooking. He does all the baking. She does the cleaning, but he likes to cook. That's just how it works in their family. In my family, when I grew up, my dad and my brother mopped the floors and took out the garbage. That was all my brother had to do was mop the floors and take out the garbage. But us girls had to do all the cleaning and cooking and that kind of thing. And my brother did cook. My mom did teach him how to cook because my dad knew how to cook too. But and in my husband's family, the girls did all the cooking and the cleaning, and the boys mopped the floors and took out the garbage. So when we got married, he mopped the floors and took out the garbage, and I did all the cleaning and the cooking and all of that until I went back to work. And then when I went back to work, then we shared some responsibilities. Not near enough, but we began to share some. So Michelle said she never used to have a routine until she turned 50. And then she realizes she really needs one because she doesn't have as much energy. And so she's still tweaking her routine. And yeah, that's huge too, Michelle. I find that same thing myself. You have to constantly tweak your routines because you have to have enough energy to get certain things done. So that makes a big difference as well. So I guess when I grew up and got married, I knew I would be expected to cook, to clean, to take care of the children because that was the example that I saw in my home. My grandmother was a stay-at-home wife, and mother. So she had 5 children and she was home with them. My grandpa was a Baptist minister, grandma was home, and so I watched her do things, and she always wore an apron when she was at home too. So I like that. So when my mom and dad got married and she was raising us, mom was home sometimes and sometimes she worked. She started out being at home, of course. And then when I don't know when mom went out and got a job, but I remember when I was in junior high school, she did have a job, but she worked the night shift so that she was home during the day with the little ones and then also at home when we came in from school, that kind of thing. So I saw that as an example. But by the time I was out of college and married with a family, most of the women in my generation were working because you begin to see that shift of women leaving the home and then in going into the workforce. And so you start to see some changes with the family, that kind of thing. And yeah, you do have to do things differently when you're older. So Alexandria, if I recall, says she's 20 years old. And so she's trying to um, get things situated for her future self. So Alexandria, here's the thing. Your future self, you're beginning to learn the homemaking skills that you want to be able to use as a homemaker once you have your own home and family. But you're going to have the conversation with whoever your partner is so that the two of you are on the same page as to what the expectations of you are. So it could be that you end up with, well, you should make a decision and choose the right person because if your choice is to be a stay-at-home homemaker, then you want to choose a person who also values that role in that way. If you choose someone who expects his wife to work, because that's what most of the women do today, then you guys might be in for a little bit of a problem unless you're on the same page. So those are some conversations you need to have before you tie the knot. Yes, Nefertiti says she thinks about how hard her husband works to keep things going and keep things taken care of, and she feels blessed to do the things that she has to do in the home and sucks it up. I think that's a great attitude because, like you said, um, if you're blessed enough that you can stay at home and manage, be the family manager at home and not have to work outside of the home, then that means the person that's going outside the home, there's things that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis that they may have resentments for as well, but they have to change their attitude in that regard. So yeah, those are some things to think about. Okay. So Lori says that she had the same problem, sometimes having a resentment, and then learned that she heard someone say something like, if you can't do what you like, then like what you do. And that helped her because she had to do it anyway. Yeah, I think just kind of changing your mindset about what it is that you have to do. So, and one of the other questions I want you guys to talk about too is, how has the media influenced how you see the homemaking role? Tell me that. And Hard Hustle Mom, I think your name is Charlotte. Let me know if I got that right. But you said you definitely need a routine because it helps with being the mom of 5, almost 6, and able to stay organized. Yeah, when you get that new baby, you're going to really have to be organized. So, get that routine down because when you get that new baby, your time is not your own. And you've already got a toddler, I believe. So things are going to be topsy-turvy for a little while there. But if you have the routine, that helps. Having the routine helps. And I have to tell you guys, you guys may or may not have seen the video where I did the decluttering, the hidden clutter. And one of the places that I cleaned was under this desk. And I had a bunch of things stacked up on the floor in the corner under this desk. And then when we had to upgrade our internet, and the guy had to come out and crawl under the desk and be back there, oh, I was so glad that I had cleaned all that out so that when he came, I didn't have to worry about it. I'd have been so embarrassed if all that stuff was still back in that corner. So Anna's being given some suggestions from Khadija, who is saying, cook the things that you enjoy. And the days that you feel overwhelmed, maybe do a crock pot meal. And the other thing too is Anna, is to consider making make ahead meals. Like if you do a crock pot meal, maybe half of it you can put in the freezer for another day. Or if you roasted chicken on Sunday, then maybe either roast two or cut that chicken in half and set it in the freezer for another time so that you can have a couple meals ahead so that you don't not always having to create something new each day. Yeah, thank you, Khadija. She said she came to the realization based on one of my videos, and it's exactly what I said. Husbands don't grow up to be perfect. Wives just learn their ways and adjust. Yeah, they don't. Now, there's some things that you can teach them to do or teach them to expect, just like you learn to do things that they like and they expect. But you get to a point where you have to decide what is worth fighting over. Fighting may not be the best choice of word for that, but what's make worth making an issue over? It's some things just isn't a big deal. You just kind of just let that go because there's going to be other things that you're going to feel the need to really have a discussion about. Hey, Cal, good to have you. Candace, Heart Hustle Mom is Candace. Okay, so Alexandria says that she's getting married this summer and they're on the same page. In the next 3 to 5 years, she plans to be at home fully and then take in foster children. Okay. And congratulations. And then Michelle says she worked outside the home for the first 16 years and was more than happy to stay at home and do most of the housework. I worked outside the home off and on. When the babies were little, I was home. And then when they started school, I went to work. And then when we had our last one, I was home. Then I went part time. And then once he was in school all day, then I went back to work. So it just varied. But now I'm home all the time and I'm really enjoying it. I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? Because I'm really enjoying being home, being able to focus on my home and being able to focus on my husband. I bring a different attention to him now than I did when I was trying to raise the kids and trying to work and do all the things that we do as a homemaker. Bumping heads is what you call it. Yeah, I can see that. So Rachel said she grew up in the 90s and doesn't recall many stay-at-home mom role models, maybe Marge Simpson. Well, Marge Simpson was a stay-at-home mom, but you're right. In the 90s, there weren't that many stay-at-home role models on TV. There were a few, though. Well, no, they really weren't. Not in the 90s. Most of those moms went out to work every day. Yep, it cuts both ways. Our husbands make allowances for things we do as well. And then right now, Khadijah's pointing out a good perspective in that the pandemic has really caused a lot of people to rethink their views on homemaking. They realize that being home all day with your family and having to homeschool during this pandemic is not as easy as they thought. And you are doing important work because you really are doing important work because you're nurturing and raising the next generation of people for your family, for your country. So, yeah, you're doing important work. And then Fancy says most of the images that we see about homemaking are often associated with old school and other antiquated values. And yeah, that's true. When you think about what you see in the media, like I said, sometimes in some of my videos, I'm being Donna Reed. I put on my 1950s housewife dress and, I'll put on my pearls and necklace and, do the 1950s things. I got some very interesting things to tell you about that, though. When we do our next 3 articles on homemaking, I found some very interesting things about those pearls, those necklaces, and those heels that June Cleaver on Leave It to Beaver always wore. And speaking of that, if you guys come across a really interesting article on homemaking that you would like to share, email it to me. And then when I do the next 3 articles on homemaking, I can share it with the group. I'm going to try to do 3 articles on homemaking at least once every couple of months. And I've already found a couple of interesting things to share with you guys. So I'm looking forward to that next one. But yeah, some of the images are old school with antiquated values. Well, and again, some of the images that you see, you're looking at Leave It to Beaver or some of those old antenna type shows. And some of the values have changed. I'll put it that way. Uh, So Michelle says sometimes we make cooking complicated. Throw a whole chicken in the oven with some seasoning and some baked potatoes and then a veggie. You don't have to follow um, something every day. But yeah, but see, Michelle, that's easy for you to say because you know how to do that. If you're a young homemaker and you don't know how to cook, throwing that chicken in the oven, a whole chicken, you have to learn to take those innards out of that frozen chicken when you put it in there. How many people roasted a turkey and left the gizzards and all that stuff in that little bag inside the turkey? You have to learn those things so they're not as easy as you say. Nefertari says, choose your battle. She says, Michelle said President Obama still throws his clothes on the floor. But in the grand scheme of things, how important is that? Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, and then Nefertiti says, those that are going out to work have experienced a lot of stress with the climate and the economics and the economy associated with COVID. Yeah. Ha! A vacuum repair manual. Interesting. Okay, email me about it. I'd like to see that. So now Lori says she enjoys watching Little House on the Prairie and Father Knows Best. They portray great family values. It has Amazon Prime. Speaking of that, the Daily Connoisseur, Jennifer Scott, who's one of my favorite YouTubers, she did a whole series on homemaking lessons learned from Little House on the Prairie. I think, well, it was Little House in the Big Woods because it was a Laura Ingalls Wilder book series, which Little House on the Prairie is based on that book. But she talked about, or at least she shared how in the story on certain days, like Ma talked about her routine, and like on Monday, Mom baked, and on Tuesday, Mom did laundry, and on Wednesday was, something else. But Ma had a routine that she did every day of the week. And it was the weekly routine that helped them get through the day. And then there was another book that she did the same thing on, where she shared the homemaking lessons you learned from the book. And I had just finished a book, a novel that I was reading, and I thought, oh, this is so interesting. I'll have to share this with the ladies. And then I forgot to share it, and I forgot what book it was. But yes, you can learn lots of values and lots of things from those old ways that people did things. And Tammy says she counts it as a blessing to be able to stay home and serve her family. I agree. I count it as a blessing as well, that I'm able to stay home now and do the things that I do to serve my family and to serve all of you. Because now that I'm home full time, I don't have to work, and I didn't take a class this semester, so I'm not working even online for the university. I can do things that allows me to interact with you guys and just not feel stressed. So I enjoy that. Am I missing something? Oh, you're not leaving early, Anna. Let's see. All right. So let me ask you guys this then. And moving forward, what are you going to, how are you going to define your role? For those of you that are full-time homemakers, how will you define your role? Has your perspective on that description changed? Well, hey, Shalomi, I am so glad you joined us tonight. I don't think you've ever joined us on this live before, so welcome. I am so glad you decided to join us. And please do catch the replay. But so has our discussion tonight changed your role at all? The way you see your role at all? Because one of the things I want you guys to think about is that I like the term family manager. I like the way she talked about how the family manager takes charge. And whereas I already knew, like I do all those things, I like the way she phrased it. So what I wanted to be able to do tonight, after having a discussion about this book and some of these thoughts, was to be able to give you some talking points or some talking words that you could help to define your role. So if someone says, well, what do you do? And you say, well, I'm a home manager or I'm a family manager. And they say, well, what is a family manager? And you can indicate, well, as a family manager, I make and create a home. So I'm responsible for the finances, for the building, for the health, everything that's associated with managing and running a family. So has your thoughts in that regards changed? You know what, Christine? It's not a big deal. Now, when I say that, I got an Amazon store. I have no idea even how much they compensate us for our links. Probably a quarter, probably 10 cents. Who knows? It's not something that I think about or worry much about, but thank you. I appreciate that. But don't worry about that. So Beth said, Journey, hello. Yeah, good to have you with us. Oh, Shalomi said she's joined us before, but stay quiet. Girl, don't be quiet. Jump in the conversation and let us know you're here, because we would love to connect with to hear whatever it is you have to share. So, but again, I'm getting off the subject now. So again, I wanted to ask you guys, are you going to be able to describe or define your role differently? We talked a little bit about changing your mindset. So hopefully some of the mindset that you change can make you more assertive in how you share or think about what it is that you share in regards to what your role is. Because Khadija, I think it's so cool that, not only are you a homemaker, a full-time homemaker, but also you've got a small homestead. Like you've got chickens and like little baby chickens, on your land. And I just think that's kind of cool. I have birds in the backyard that I go and I fill the bird feeders and that kind of thing. And, I put things in the squirrel feeders to try to keep them out of the bird feeders. But pretty much they can manage themselves. If I never fill the feeders, they'll be fine. But you got to take care of those little baby animals. So I just think that is so cool. And I admire women that are able to do that. I used to think I'd be a good farm wife. Well, no, I don't think so. But don't forget though, I'm challenging all of you guys to grow a little bit of a herbal garden. Even if you just put out a couple herb pots on your patio, on your back porch, on the window ledge, some thyme or rosemary, something that you can use to cook with, that you can kind of pat the flowers and you can just kind of smell them and then use them to cook with. So, okay, I think we've covered everything. Yeah, we've covered everything. So there's the question again. How will you define your role? Has your perspective changed on that description? And then what kind of attitude will you have when you define it? So I think that is something to think about as well. What kind of attitude will you have when you define it? Because here's the thing. If you have a deprecating attitude about it, then that'll give people ammunition to use against you. Oh, well, if she doesn't think it's that great, then why should I think it's that great? But if you're more assertive about your thoughts of the importance of your role, then maybe that can help them begin to rethink their view or their impression of that role as well. So there's that. And then I was encouraging people to plant an herb garden. And it doesn't have to be anything big, just something small. So several people are saying they're going to do it. Oh, and some bird feeders. Oh, I love the bird feeders. They're just so relaxing. You know what? I think it's too late for me to be a farm girl. It's fun. Like our garden did really well last year. We had lots of like greens and green peppers and tomatoes, and I had herbs. Like I'm still using my fresh sage. Well, it's not fresh now. I dried it, that kind of thing. So I had lots of that. But I don't know how good I'd be milking a cow or all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then, yeah, I love the birdhouses. Just love them. Hey, Vamsy, good to have you with us as well. You jumped on. All right. So be sure to visit our co-sponsor. Remember, our co-sponsor tonight is Coldest Water. So be sure to visit our co-sponsor, Coldest Water, by clicking on the link in the description box. And, they have free giveaways every week. So click on the link and jump in on their giveaways. And if you choose to shop, they'll give you 10% off. And be sure also to sign up for the Apron Diva link. And like I said, it goes live on Sunday. So I'll probably do a live stream on Saturday just to kind of remind people and talk a little bit about that. And then also, I did pull together a group of homemakers, and some of them are in the live stream tonight, like Khadija and then Michelle at My Everyday Wife Life. Both of them was in the collaboration that I just pulled together on Sunday, where we were doing some spring cleaning. It's called Spring Into Clean. And each one of us and 9 other YouTube creators, homemakers, all were showing you how we're getting our spring cleaning on. We'll have another video for you next Monday. So be sure and check out the playlist so that you can see all the goodies that we've got to share with you in that regard. And let's see. Table for Nines, proud to be a full-time homemaker. I am so glad you are. Alexandria's got a spot picked out for gardening this year, hoping to have flowers in the front, and we'll have chickens and ducks again this year. We can't have chickens and ducks and things like that where I live, not in the city limits. Canning. I'm going to do more canning this year too. I love doing jams and jellies. My goal is to learn how to pressure can so I can do meat, because I've only done like jams and jellies and sauces, never tried meat, but I'm going to give it a try this year. I'm going to buy me one of those pressure canners, one of those big Berthas, as Miss Hart calls it. And Rachel said she used to keep chickens, but she doesn't anymore. So, okay. All right. Well, it looks like we've got all the questions answered. And I thought we had a pretty good discussion. I really enjoyed this discussion tonight. So thank you guys for engaging with me on it. And again, don't forget to check out the Family Manager Takes Charge. I just kind of like the way she presents things in that regard. And we did talk about a couple other books last week. I think we talked about the Homekeeping Handbook by Martha Stewart. We talked about this one a couple weeks ago. And it's really kind of interesting that the different things that each of them will have in there, the essential guide to caring for everything in the home. And she talks about some of the things we have to do regarding cleaning and maintenance and, things regarding buildings. And then, of course, this one, Home Comforts, the art and science of keeping house. So there's those. So, ladies, it's been nice. I'll see you next time. Bye. Good night.